Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. I am so fortunate today to have Steve Sims, entrepreneur, coach. He's got an incredible story to tell coming here on Growth Driven. Hey, Steve Sims here on Growth Driven. Steve, thank you so much for being on the show. I am so honored for you to be here.
That's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I looked at your website, and I'll bring it up later, but my God, your accomplishments, author, you've been an Entrepreneur, Inc., we're Bradley, Forbes, Medium, you've worked with Sir Elton John, and so many other influencers. Kind of tell me how the story, I know the big thing that you do is you're Mr. Fix-It to the richest people in the world. You coach some of the top leaders on the planet. How did you get your start in all of this?
Yeah, I get about a bit, don't I?
Yeah.
So it was funny. We can sit here and name drop, Elon Musk and the Pope, and you can have someone there going, oh wow, but we're no different. I reckon that if you sliced us in half, there would be a gene or a molecule or some kind of DNA strand that would be identical for every single entrepreneur in the planet. Because when entrepreneurs get together, don't we connect? Aren't we tight very, very quickly? Because we're recognizing our own. So there's something that's going on in entrepreneurs that make us all the same. And I think it's the aggravation gene. I think that entrepreneurs spend a lot of their life aggravated of where they are, and they're aggravated with what they're doing until they can propel themselves into a position where they can conquer, master, disrupt, and create. As I left school at the age of 15, I was born into a bricklaying family in East London, but as an entrepreneur, I was aggravated. Is this really what my life's going to be? Am I really going to be in a pub every Friday? Is this it? And I didn't know anything different. And this was in the 80s. So I didn't have the pleasure of Instagram telling me how inadequate my life was. It just was a feeling deep inside was that this was going to be it. And entrepreneurs, we jump out of the frying pan into the volcano. We don't overthink, we overdo, and we just go. And so I quit. I went on a whole barrage of doing God knows how many jobs that either I was ill-equipped to do, uneducated to do, just everything wrong. But it's through learning those things that you're not good at that you realize what you're good at. And I realized I needed to know rich people because everyone I knew was poor. I was poor. I knew what being poor was like. I knew what it was like to go into a pub and afford 2 beers and that's it. I knew what that was like. So why hang around with people like that share the same feelings as me? I wanted to hang around with millionaires, billionaires that bought things like countries because I wanted to be able to go, why are you rich and I'm not? What's the difference? What are you doing that I'm not? And that's what I wanted to do. So I had to give them a reason to talk to me. I ended up launching by default, total by accident, the world's most successful and well-known experiential concierge firm that sends people down to the Titanic, up to the space station, get them married in the Vatican, hanging out with Elton John, hanging out with Guns N' Roses, hanging around. I got to do all of these fantastical things, but it was a Trojan horse. I did it for one reason. Yes, the money was good. The experiences were fantastic. The stories were brilliant, but I did it for one major reason. I wanted to be able to sit across the table from a billionaire and go, so how do you look at this? What do you see here? Why are you doing it? And that was it. So after 25 plus years, about 28 years, I think in total, I got asked if I would write a book. And that's what launched me to where I am now. I wanted to be able to turn around and go, hey, I'm a bricklayer from London and I can phone up Elon Musk and Sir Elton John. You're already out of excuses. So this is how I do it. And that's what I wanted to be able to do.
That is an amazing story. Bricklayer to Elon Musk, from the bricks to the stars.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of because I remember being a young lad Well, there's so many. My dad used to play Elton John a lot. So to be able to work for Elton John for 8 years was kind of like, wow. My family are Roman Catholic. So for me to be able to work with the Vatican, and when I got married to my wife that I've been with for 35 years, our wedding song was November Rain by Guns N' Roses. So to actually get to hang out backstage with Guns N' Roses and tell them the story and introduce them to my wife that they were the theme tune, it was just surreal how many circles have actually been completed and closed.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing those. So now you've developed this strategy, which I love, these experiential trips as a way to get in front of these people. What would you say are the top 3 things that you've learned from these millionaires and billionaires that were kind of like but were aha moments for you?
First one is that the exact same as us. And that was, you expect a billionaire to never go to the toilet, never sweat, walk on water. You expect something from them.
Right.
But I've met some of the most uneducated, skillless people in the planet that are billionaires because they discovered their unicorn. They discovered what they were brilliant at. You see, most billionaires are brilliant at 1, maybe 2 things, but the rest of it, they're just like us. And that was actually very surprising. Here's one of the daft things, and I think this is why, in reflection, I did so well, because I'm a guy, big guy, tattoos, piercings, all that kind of stuff. As we were discussing earlier, ride around on motorbikes. I'm a normal Joe. Okay. I love drinking, maybe a bit too much. I like going fast on bikes.
Yeah.
But whenever I met someone, I didn't try to be any different. But I would notice that when people spoke to a rich person, they would go, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. It's such an honor. They would change. They would change to talk to the person. Well, when you change, it actually makes the other person change because you're not connecting. You're both putting on these facades. So I would walk in there, and the amount of places, that I've walked into with a crash helmet in my hand, and I've just gone, hey, how you doing? I'm Steve. Where we sitting? Where we going? What we're going to do about this? And just being me. Yeah. And they found it refreshing because the richer people get, they get 1 million people underneath them laughing at their jokes that aren't even funny, that they want to talk normal talk. So the first thing I noticed was that they're normal people that just happen to be exceptional at 1 or 2 things. That was the first aha moment. Okay. The second thing was the richer they get, the skinnier they get. Now, this was something that was kind of weird. I had clients that could afford anything.
Go over that point again. The richer they get, the what?
Scareder they get.
The scareder.
Yeah. The richer or the higher profile they get. And let's be serious. I know a lot of rich people, and I guarantee you probably 2/3 of them you've never heard of in your life. Okay. And they own things like the largest coal mines in Russia, or they own the largest copper plants, or, they own telecom companies in India. You've never heard of them, but you look at Brad Pitt's earnings, and that's a weekly salary for these people. So people think for you to be rich, you've got to be well-known. There's a lot of well-known famous people that are living on borrowed money and borrowed time. Okay. So you could be high profile and 2 cents off of being broke. How many famous people do we know that have actually gone broke? Okay. So,
to that point, it's funny you bring this up. I was just reading an article yesterday. 70% of NFL players are bankrupt 7 years after they leave the NFL.
Yeah, and rappers do the exact same thing. The rap industry is the same because they get a little bit of money and suddenly they've got to make out as though they've got more money than they have. So they might get dropped $1 million to the release of a record, and then the first thing they do is go and spank it on a $3 million property or on a stupid car. So it happens. So the people of profile and the people of money, which are not always the same, are scared of asking for something for fear of being declined and that becoming a marketing tool, or for fear of now owing a favor. Because there's nothing worse than, there's no higher interest rate than what a favor can carry. So if you've got someone very powerful goes up and goes, hey, I hear you've got this Formula One event going on, or I'd like to go do, you don't want that person turning around and going, it will be an honor. And then next year, hey, we would like to do this. Because something happens. Funny enough, they're very, very rarely equal value. The favor comes back usually at a 10 times greater value. But the biggest problem is they don't want to turn up and be declined, because then it's all of a sudden, oh, we've got a new nightclub. We're so cool. We turned Brad Pitt away. We've got an event. We're so cool. We turned Elon Musk away, you know, or we're so cool. Elon Musk has been calling us all week. So I work with very powerful people and I get them into events and never reveal who they are until they're sat down. And then the events are kind of like, I can't believe this. And I'm like, we agreed. You do not disclose the client's name. You do not disclose the client's details. You take no photographs. This is not your marketing ploy.
Right.
And so, you know, the people, they're very, very normal. They want to experience things, but they suddenly get claustrophobic because they can't reach out and ask for themselves because the alternative is horrible to them. So I became that man in the middle that didn't care, got it done, got it paid for. So everyone's been paid. We're not leaning on marketing. We're not leaning on favors. And we did that.
That's awesome. So you've put together this brand of putting people together. And I think you bring up a good thing, a great point, which is you're getting it done. If you're just joining in, I'm with Steve Sims. I'm showing his website here. Go to his website, get his book. I'm definitely getting in after this. I'm now completely sold. Now only 10 minutes into the interview. He's offered coaching. And hopefully, Steve, if you're ever out in Las Vegas, which, you know, the entertainment industry is going to come back, love to take you out for a steak and a bourbon.
That's so there you go. You see, you know a way to my heart.
Yeah. I know a great place right off the strip. It's called Herbs and Rye. And I'm telling you, you're going to love this place.
Right.
It is my favorite place off the strip. Okay. So I think you shared a couple incredible insights. I never really thought like they develop a fear of heights, if you will, of their
They
fame.
do. Well, that was the two things. You asked for a couple of things. So I gave you the first ones that were the ahas. Yeah. That was that they are incredibly normal, but now they get put on a pedestal. Yeah. And you can never get close to someone if the first thing you do is put them on a pedestal. How many times you see, you walk up to someone, I see this all the time. They walk up to someone like Jay-Z or they walk up to Elton John and they physically bow. They kind of lower their head. How can you connect with someone when the first way you do it is by lowering yourself or putting them on a pedestal away from yourself? So that was the first thing I noticed, which hurts both relationships, you and the person you're trying to talk to. The fact that they're frightened to ask. But here was the third thing that was the aha, okay? Because I know you asked me for three.
Yeah.
Third one is that they look at problem and things differently to us. They have different lens. Now they will go up. You'll have a squeaky wheelbarrow, and you'll look at the wheelbarrow and you'll start focusing on where the squeak is and why it's squeaking, and you will become focused on repairing that squeak. Okay. And as entrepreneurs, we become fixated on the problem. Okay. The billionaires that I've dealt with sit there and go, why do we need a wheelbarrow in any case? They don't look at fixing a problem. They analyze why that's a problem to start with. You know, why are we doing that? Why do we have that? And they will try to eliminate it because there's a lot of stuff in our life that creates friction. There is nothing good that ever came out of friction because friction is only there to make you stop. That's why it's called brakes. You don't want friction in a washing machine. You don't want friction in a TV. You don't want friction anywhere else because it stops things and it erodes and it eventually makes things break. So they look at everything to go, okay, how can I take out as many moving parts as possible? And this was Elon Musk's philosophy with the car. How can I take out as many moving parts as possible? Because anytime anything rubs against each other, it needs maintenance. So the first thing that Elon did with his car, and I was very fortunate, I've been with the guy for, what's it been like, maybe 7 years. He looks at how can we get rid of the friction and how can we reduce as many parts between here and here. That's what he would always do. So they look at problems differently to us. And that's what you've got to start doing. As entrepreneurs, the easiest way to make an entrepreneur go bankrupt is to look at them and go, hey, I bet you can do this for $10. And the entrepreneur will be the one that's fixated at doing what has been challenged, because we love a challenge. We love to solve. We love to prove people wrong. You ignore the fact that you're now just going to spend probably $1,000 of your time on a $10 prize. Now, there's a gentleman called Peter Diamandis, and he launched the X Prize, which was the first reusable vehicle, flight vehicle, to go up into space, come back down, be refueled, and go back up again, that then Richard Branson purchased to be Virgin Galactic, okay? And he was given a $10 million prize for that, okay? Wow. The winning person spent $120 million to win that $10 million prize. And all the other entrants that lost also paid those kind of figures and never got anything. So as entrepreneurs, we go for the challenge rather than the price tag. And that's what you've got to be really careful of. So the rich people, they look at things differently. And that's what I have really tried to adopt. Anything I'm going to get involved in, I go, well, okay, why do I need that? What's it going to do? And is there a way of me not getting a really good one of those? Is there a way of me eliminating the requirement for that? And that's what I do in my business a lot.
That's amazing. I love that, because I think the takeaway here is really what they're doing is they're reframing the problem. They're not being caught into that rabbit hole called, I'm going to challenge you and then trick you into solving this out of some stupid game. They get that 60,000 foot view and go, and they completely reframe the problem and find the ultimate solution. And it sounds like through simplification, by elimination of unnecessary activities or processes or parts or friction, as you call it.
Yeah, increase by subtraction. Absolutely, every single time. Increase by subtraction. What can you get out of your life? COVID's been absolutely fantastic for this, because we, every spring, we look at our wardrobe and realize we haven't worn that shirt for 3 years, so it's time to spring clean it, okay? Right, COVID's given us the chance and the pause to be able to spring clean your wardrobe. And for the smart people out there, spring clean your desk, your website, your mindset, your CRMs, your funnels, your product offering, your purpose, your why. It's given us the chance to actually analyze, why do we do this? Does it move the needle? Does it work? We've got all of these subscriptions, and it's not too late. If you haven't done this, you're late to the party, but you've still got a couple of months to do it. Look at your bank account. Do you need all those subscriptions? Do they move the needle? If all of those things stopped, how would it impact your life? If it's negative, keep it. If it's positive, let it go. So these are the things you've got to be doing with yourself now, and in the future be fine-tuned and build the habit that you constantly revisit what you're doing and then ask yourself, why? Is this the best way to me spend my energy?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a question for you. What would you say is some of your leadership coaching principles? I know you do a lot of coaching. Could you share with me some of your core principles when you're giving or delivering your leadership coaching?
Well, the first thing we've got to do, and it wasn't set out to do this, but the first thing that ends up happening is we've got to get you uncomfortable. Okay. We've got to get you into a state of questioning, discomfort, disconnect, because all of those things make the mind receptive. You don't like, if I stuck you in a hole, the first thing your mind is going to do beaverishly is not worry about how much dirt is on your shoes. It's going to be focused on one thing, how to get out of that hole. Your mind is now racing everything else in your planet. You know, did you feed the cat? Is the gas on? You know, I need a new car. I need to, get a selfie with me on Instagram. All of that goes out the window. You become focused on one goal. Get out of that freaking hole. Okay. So whenever I work with someone, the first thing I do is I do a deep dive. I get in, I find out what you're doing, and then grill you. Why are you doing it? And my goal is to get you uncomfortable, get you disconnected from an obligation. Because how many of us have programs that we use because we've always used them? Right. Or here's worse. Here's a worse one. How many of us have got friends because we've always had them?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many of you have got those friends that if you're in a group, hey, that's okay. I can stomach him for 20 minutes on a Friday night once a month. Yeah, that's good. But would you want to be left alone with that person? Would you want to go on a weekend holiday just with that person? And you may go, hell no. But you still keep them in your circle. Okay. Right. So my goal, first of all, is to get in there, shake you up, get you uncomfortable, get you disconnected from an obligation that may not be necessary, and then get our minds working on the why. Why are we doing this selfishly? Why do I put my energy in this? What needle am I trying to move? And is the juice worth the squeeze? And what we end up doing is we end up eliminating a lot of things in our life, okay? And then what we start doing is we crack down, and it's a very easy exercise, which I'll give you now. Do 3 circles with the 3 circles interloping each one, okay? On the top one, write in all of the things that you think you are superior at. What are you golden at? Closing a deal, designing this, manufacturing, whatever you are bloody excellent at.
Right.
Put in the top circle. Okay. The stuff that, oh my God, gives you goosebumps with hatred, put that in the bottom. It may be invoicing. It may be chasing clients. It may be, putting proposals together. You may hate doing PowerPoints. You may hate doing your social.
Bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping. All of those things. Right. Podcast production. Anything that you just go, oh my God, I don't want to do that. You put in the bottom one. And in the middle one, what are you competent at? I'm all right at bookkeeping. I can do it. I have been doing it for 6 years. I can do it. Yeah, I can post on social. Yeah, I can do my own Facebook ads. Yeah, I can write my own copy for my next offer of my product. Put the stuff that's competent in. And then what you do is then go back up to the top circle again and really go, well, okay, out of those 10 things I listed, and more than likely you've only listed 3 to 5, are there any in there that I'm actually not that brilliant at, but I'm extremely competent at? And you may find you move that stuff down.
Right.
And the next point of your life, and this is the next thing I teach within winning coaching, is outsource the bottom 2 circles. Because what you're competent at,
brilliant. I love that.
Bookkeeping, accounting, podcast production, social media, what you're competent at, someone else may be superior at. And this is what happens. You outsource everything that you're competent at. And this is what a lot of people don't do. They outsource what they hate. You outsource, having someone clean your car. You outsource, having someone, clean your teeth at a dentist's. You outsource your podcast production. You could do those things, but you outsource them because you really don't like them. But we very rarely outsource what we're competent at. But this is what happens. If you can outsource those to people that are superior at it, you have so much more time in the day to act on what you are brilliant at. And here's the first thing that happens. You get bored because all of a sudden you've got the entire day. And the first thing you want to do is check on the people that you've outsourced everything to start
Totally.
helicopter. You know this. We've all been through it.
You're bored, so I just want to make sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, I just wanted to check on you. So I teach you how to get over that and how to fill in that gap, get you uncomfortable so you can start working on impact over time. How many people like us, and we learn all of this stuff from stuff that we've done, but how many times in your life have you worked from like 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night and you've gone, oh, I've worked all day. And you think you should deserve a medal because of the hours you did.
Right.
Okay. And then you really look at it and you go, I spent a lot of time wasted. I didn't focus, because you can't do 10 hours work on a straight line. We don't get in the flow. We don't get in the zone. I am hellishly productive for 45 minutes. And then I will go and do a podcast. I will go for a ride on the motorbike. I'll make myself a cappuccino. I'll walk around the garden with my dog. And then I come back in and bang, I will be dynamic for another 45 minutes. So you've really got to work on the time that you are most impactful and stop thinking that you get an extra medal because you looked busy. So I'm there to get you uncomfortable, eliminate the stuff that you shouldn't be touching, get you bored. And then the big thing is getting you comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because at the moment we're in a pandemic. Okay. If I told you that it was going to end on January the 13th at 2 p.m., how many people would start planning, oh, I'm going to read books between it. I'm going to start taking, because we know when the end date would be.
Right.
The thing that's concerning us now is we don't have that clarity. Add to it, we don't even know who the bloody president's going to be. Add to it, are we going to fall into a recession? There's so much disconnect, discomfort, noise, and distraction at the moment. It's confusing us. Now, take all of that away and look at the last 10 years. We've had a few recessions. We've had 9/11. We've had wars. We've had different governments. Forget the term pandemic. I guarantee you within the next 10 to 15 years, there's going to be many other times of your life that you fall into that discomfort.
Yeah.
If you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you can seize the opportunity in that moment. And we all know there's a lot of companies, me included, that have done very, very well out of COVID because we have used it for us rather than allowed it to stamp on us. And it's basically like a game. What's happened is the entire planet has been picked up and they've been dropped into a stadium because the pandemic has affected everybody. Absolutely everybody. And it's dropped us in the middle of this stadium and it's given us this one single instruction. Play the game. We don't know the rules. We don't know what side we're on. But two things happen, okay? Well, one thing happens to two different people. There is half of the field that's first response will be to run to the bench and start binge watching Netflix and bitching and whining and falling into the pity party.
Yep.
And the other side of the people are going to sit on the field and go, let's play. Let's make it up as we go along. Let's see what we can get out of this. And that's the difference between the wantrepreneur and the entrepreneur.
So true. I love that. What you're saying is you bring the person up to a heightened sense of necessity in that hole.
Yes.
And all of a sudden their mind, their power activates, if you will, this whole level of stuff that they've never tapped into. You clarify the why, which allows a focus, and then you eliminate what they're competent at or don't like so that they can focus on what really moves the needle for their brand or for their mission in life.
Absolutely. And it's the best way to do it. I run an event and I can't pitch it because it'll make you scream. Have you heard about my speakeasies?
I did. You're having one in San Diego next week, right?
I'm having one in San Diego in January.
In January, okay.
But we've been running these for 2.5 years now. 3 times a year we do them. And what we do, and this, again, this is as much as I can pitch, and you won't be angry about me saying this because it's probably the worst pitch in the planet. It's $2,000 for January the 21st and 22nd in San Diego, and that's it. We don't tell anybody about it. Okay. In fact, I'm not even going to give you the website because I don't want you thinking I'm pitching it. The point is, we've sold out of every single one of these because people come along going, what's happening here? You know, I don't know what I'm going to get involved in. I know Sims has done some good ones in the past. I wonder what this, but we don't tell anybody who's going to turn up, who's going to be our teachers for the period, who's going to be in the room. We don't even tell you the location until the week before. We tell you the city, and we'll give you an option of our chosen hotel that most people are going to be at. But other than that, you have no idea. And what that does is it gets everyone heightened receptive because they're all there going, what's going on? And when you've got that kind of emotional trigger, you're far more receptive to change. If I told you Billy's on at 10 o'clock, Michael's on at 12, then we got lunch at 1, and then you'll be like, well, I don't like Billy, so I'm not going to show up for this one, but I am going to show up for the 12 o'clock. And you got lunch at 1. I don't want lunch. I'm going to go and see my mate because I'm in that area. You start doing that. But I've sold events for $2,000, which, let's be blunt, isn't cheap. $2,000 for 2 days, 40 people maximum in a city. That's as much of the information as I ever give, and they get sold out from people willing to be uncomfortable. Now, can you think and imagine a better room than 40 people that are incredibly receptive to do something more impactful and so open to that challenge that they've turned up with bugger all information? It's a brilliant room. It scares the shit out of me, but it's a brilliant room.
No, I love that. I'm just thinking to myself how simple and brilliant that is, because you're right. It's almost like if you go to a concert and you know the opening act is starting at 4 o'clock and you don't like the opening act, but the Rolling Stones are going to be on at 7. You'll just show up at 7.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But now you've put on a concert. Will it be the Rolling Stones? Will it be, is it going to be Justin Timberlake? I mean, you just put on this complete mystery, which brings everybody to that heightened reception. I hope one day you do this in Las Vegas. Because I'm signing up. You did?
I did. We did Las Vegas. We did Las Vegas in February. We did February 2020. We did it in this year, the last year that we did it. And we had the head, Sasha Larkin, who's the head of the Las Vegas police force. She gave us a tour of that plant and then educated us on the greatest weapon the police force have is communication. She's brilliant. She's fantastic. Wow. And then we went, because Vegas, not a lot of people know this, but Vegas holds some of the most valuable server banks. Did you know that?
I know that there's a lot of banking industry moguls in Nevada, but
no, not banking, server banks. You know the big computer bank, they just look like massive, great hard drives, and they're all on different little. You see them in programs like Mission Impossible and stuff like that. Vegas is the highest concentration for the most valuable ones. And you've got people like Nike and eBay have got these massive, great server banks where they've been able to collate every single page you've ever looked at, and they store all of this data in these. And when you walk into them, I've walked into the Penthouse, I've walked into Fort Hood, I've walked into the Pentagon, the White House, all of these places. I have never seen more strapped up, scary-assed military than these data banks in Vegas. And we took our crowd in there to teach people what data banks were and why they're so valuable. And that's the kind of stuff. We had Brad Lee come in. We had Dan Fleischman come in. We had a whole bunch of people come in and train us, but nobody knew they were going to be getting that. And then in the evening, we all went shooting military weapons with a former Navy SEAL. So it was a pretty cool thing. And again, no one knew what was going to happen for 2 days.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, when you have another one, if and when, I definitely, put me on that invitation list.
There you
for
go.
sure. There you go. Okay. Well, thanks for that. If someone, when they want to get coaching, I've noticed that there's a lot of people who want to get coaching. They talk about getting coaching, but they never do it. What have you found to be that last barrier, mental barrier, before they pull the trigger, before they call somebody like you?
Well, we spoke about the fact that the affluent people, they look at things differently. Okay. The problem that we've got with most people that fail to click the button and get involved is, the first thing is, there's a fear that they're to blame. There's a fear that the reason they're not getting ahead in business is because of them. The reason they haven't scaled up their business, developed their unicorn, it's all because of them. Okay. So there's a fear of that self-realization that it's actually been their fault all along. Okay. The fact is, that's right. 9 times out of 10, it is your fault. Okay. But the beautiful thing about realizing where the problem is it's now exposed to be able to fix it. But people are frightened of that. Okay. They look at it as a negative. When I'm doing something and I see something's broken and it's failing on me, excellent. I want to know it's failing. I want to know it's broke so I can fix it. I look for the problem in absolutely everything so I know that there's no longer a problem. But a lot of people that are looking at coaching, they're actually frightened of how much they're going to be to blame. And trust me, that's a wonderful thing. If I'm to blame, let's say for argument's sake on this phone call, I'm the one that's going wrong, I can fix it. But if you, my friend, are the one that's going wrong, I can't fix you, you know, but I can fix me. So they should actually look at that realization as a positive thing. The other thing they do, and they fixate, like all entrepreneurs, on the price. My coaching starts at $2,000 a month, okay? There's no month to month. It's not 6 months, 12. It's month to month. I believe I'm an asset, not an invoice. But they look at that $2,000 and they go, oh, it's $2,000. What am I going to get out of it? You. That's what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get a better you. You're going to get a real. You're going to spend the first couple to 3 months of coaching pissed off and aggravated because you're going to realize that you did stuff that didn't work. And you're going to go, why did I do that for like 3 years of my life? I spoke to Steve. Now I don't do it. You know, you're going to realize how you listen to the wrong people and how things are exposed to you. And I'm going to teach you how to look at problems like the most affluent people do in the world. People don't need me for too long. They need me for as long as it works for them, but they're scared and they look at the stickers and they look at they get sticker shock. They go $2,000, you know, and that's what scares them rather than looking at, okay, I want to be exposed as the problem because I'm fixable. And second, you should never look at the $2,000. You should look at, okay, am I getting 10 grand's worth of value? Then that's worth $2,000 because I've made an $8,000 profit. If you work with me for $2,000 and you make $500 profit, I'm the wrong person for you and we should never talk again.
Absolutely. I love the line that you used is to look at me as an asset and not an invoice. I think that is such a critical point. You know, I've made this observation that there's 2 kinds of minds in business, and I'm completely willing to be wrong in this analogy, but it's worked for me for a while. You have people that have an entrepreneur mind and you have people that have a CPA mind. And the CPA mind looks at the invoice.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur mind looks at the opportunity and the asset. You know, like Sir Richard Branson didn't buy a 747 because it made sense to a CPA, but it made sense to him as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through, I'll give you a quick story. I was walking through SpaceX with Elon Musk and we had arranged about 30 of the richest people on the planet to actually meet him and have a chat. And I took 2 of my clients with me up to get Elon to come from his office into the boardroom where everyone else was. So I took 2 of my clients and one of my clients was just thrilled to be walking through SpaceX with Elon Musk. He didn't
Right.
need to ask. He didn't need anything, you know.
He just needed to do the walk.
He was just thrilled with the walk. My other client was rabbiting on like a little girl at a Justin Bieber concert. He was like, "Oh yeah, so what are you doing about it? And how are you doing it?" And he was aggravating to the point that I was just about to shut him up, because Elon's not a chatter. He doesn't waste time with, you know, water cooler talk. You know, he's not that kind of, you know, casual conversation guy. And my client turned around and said, and this was way before NASA acknowledged him as a genius. He turned around and said, "How do you feel about NASA publicly ridiculing your attempt to get into the space industry?" And this caught Elon. And Elon turned around and said, "They always laugh at you before they applaud." And that was it. And I remember hearing that. So as I listen to people now, you want the laughter, you want the problem, because, you know, you only have a millimeter between insanity and genius. You know, understand that you're just getting closer to it.
So true. That's a great takeaway. I'm going to remember that. Okay, if you you hang out with all these people, to some degree, you have a crystal ball, more than most. What do you think is the great opportunity or opportunities that people can seize in 2021?
Oh, relationships. Hell, that wasn't even thought about. We have something now called an ROR, the return on relationships. Relationships are those people that you can phone up and go, "Jimmy, how do I do this?" "Well, Steve, you do that." Okay. You can't get it from anywhere else. And here's the beautiful thing. We aren't connecting anymore. Okay. And this pandemic has made people hungry to have conversations. So I want you to do something with this weird thing. This is the iPhone 12 Max, okay? And it does something which is absolutely brilliant. It can phone people. The daft thing is, people don't use their phones anymore to phone people, yet they're thrilled when someone phones up and goes, "Jeffrey, just wanted to come out and check in on you. What are you working on? I have half an hour. Should we spitball to come up with an idea of how it can be better?" The chances of us increasing our relationships now, before a vaccine comes in, the pandemic goes away, the green light comes on, and we're all back into our world of noise and distraction and Instagram and, you know, isn't this important? And look at me and my new car. All of that stuff's gone by the wayside now. We have a tremendous opportunity to reach out and connect with people. And also, if you want to speak to a millionaire and a billionaire, they're also sitting at home. They are answering way more of their messages than they've ever done in the past. You can connect with so many people at this moment in time because we're all in the same bucket. So I would say 100% focus on relationships.
Carpe relationships. Seize the relationship.
Yep.
I love that. It's so I love that because, and I'm going to use that ROR, return on relationship, and they're hungry for conversation. I think you're spot on, because this heightened thing is, I noticed in March and April, the amount of people instant messaging me and texting me going, what are you doing? How it was almost like that. I could sense that hunger. It's waned a little bit, but it's still at a heightened range. I think the election brought it back up. I think the second wave of Corona, to whatever degree you believe in that, brings it up. And then you're right. There's going to be a point. We got the vaccine. We're back to normal. Now I can just go back to my routine, my rat wheel.
Yeah. And we're going to lose this opportunity. I remember it was Jay Abraham, a friend of mine. He lives just down the road from here. He said the idiot is the guy that sharpens his sword on the battlefield. We should be sharpening everything. We be sharpening the ability to communicate, connect, relate, talk with each other. Do all of those things now, because when the world does open up, they're going to remember you, and then they're going to work with you, and then you're going to be able to get together with people. It's a great thing. We should be doing it.
Absolutely. Hey guys, if you're just joining in, go to stevedsims.com. If you're on listening to this a podcast later on, months from now, stevedsims.com. I will put the link in the podcast. I will put the link in the YouTube video. check out Steve's content. He's got podcasts, he's got books, he's got blogs, he's got speakeasies that you can attend. I'm sure you'll be able to find all that. Steve, I feel so blessed. I've learned so much today, and I just appreciate your time so much. I completely agree with you. Now is the time for us to really sharpen our skills, get our relationships close, spitball those ideas, get on the phone, and develop great relationships. So I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to having you not only on the show again sometime in 2021, but whenever you're in Vegas, remember that steak and that bourbon or two is on me.
Cheers, man.
All right. Thank you.